Okay, so here is the bearing set from the inside of this part. With just a little bit of pressure on the inside here, the whole set popped out. And looking closely, I do see a little bit of grease, but there really isn't much on there. I don't know if you should do this. Don't follow my advice, but I want to make sure this thing has a lot of grease in there. There we go. That is a ton of grease. Now let's see if I can fit this thing back in there without breaking it. There we go. Oh yeah, that is what I'm talking about. You know when you replace a part that is completely bad, and you replace it with what's supposed to be an updated, obviously new part, to fix the original problem. And that's what I did a few years ago with the intermediate column steering shaft in my 2003 Chevrolet Suburban. It's a pretty common problem. I'm guessing that if you are watching this video, you probably have or have experienced that same problem. You know when you're driving your truck around your neighborhood, you hit normal sized dips, normal bumps in the road, and it feels like your front suspension is literally falling apart. Little did you know that it really boils down to just one little plastic part that basically keeps the intermediate steering shaft from vibrating around. Well, I don't know why they made it out of plastic, but that plastic part eventually fails, and then you got to replace it. It's not that hard, but I've already done it once on this vehicle just a few years ago, and now I'm having to do it again. Yep, that's the problem right there. So we're underneath the steering wheel right now, and here is that steering column I was telling you about. This green piece of plastic is the actual bearing that we're going to have to replace. You can see we do have one 15mm bolt we'll have to remove. The hardest part about this job is simply the fact that it's so tight in this area. It's hard to get tools in here, it's hard to get your hands in here. It's especially hard to film it all at the same time. One thing you absolutely cannot skip when making this repair is somehow tying off your steering wheel so that it can't turn while it's detached from the intermediate steering shaft. I guess there's a bunch of springs and stuff in there that can break very easily. And so this is what I do. I just use the seat belt, wrap it through the steering wheel, plug it back in. The only downside to that is I do have to move the seat up just a little bit to get the seat belt to reach, which limits my space right here. Okay, in order to get this 15mm nut off, I'm just going to use a wrench here. And I do have blue Loctite on here that I applied before, so I'm going to have to wrestle with this for a minute. Yep, that's going to be hard. All right, I had to switch to a ratchet because that wrench was just too small. And this seems to be working. Yep. Okay, got it. Nice. Okay, I got the nut off. And this bolt should just come right out. Now that that bolt's out, we should be able to just slide this intermediate shaft out of this shaft. See, and this is where the hand positioning comes into play. It's kind of hard to, there we go. You just gotta, and then it'll start to slide. There we go. All right. I don't know if you saw that, but the shaft came out, which is exactly what we want. The only thing left is to get this green piece of plastic out of here, which actually goes deep up into the column there. So this might be even a little more difficult. You may want to put some gloves on because there is some very sharp metal around here. Very easy to cut your fingers on this stuff. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick trick to get this out. If you place this center shaft against the palm of your hand and you're using your top fingers here to grab around the top of the green part of the plastic, you're going to kind of use that center shaft as the fulcrum, if you will, and you're going to put pressure with the palm of your hand, also pulling the green piece of plastic. There we go, and it just comes right out. All right. Yep. There we go. Okay, so here is the old part versus the new part. You can see they look almost identical, if not totally identical. There's the inside. You can see the plastic bearing in the inside there. I noticed something here when I was spinning this bearing on the inside. Let's see if you can hear it. I'm no professional here, but I don't think it should sound like that. Just for comparison purposes, let's see what the new one sounds like. Ooh, nice and smooth. Wow. Look at that. I think that's the way it should be right there. Let's try that again with the old one. There's no way. Those bearings are super loud. I don't know if it was like that when I initially put it in. I don't think it was. What I do know is this brand new one does not sound like that at all and actually spins pretty good. So did I get a defective part initially? I don't know. It did fix the problem for the last couple of years. Maybe it's just gone bad again. Okay, so here is the bearing set from the inside of this part. I was looking down inside and I could see the bearings through a small crack there. And I didn't see much grease. So I thought, I wonder if I could pop that set out and add some more grease. With just a little bit of pressure on the inside here, the whole set popped out. And looking closely, I do see a little bit of grease, but there really isn't much on there. I have some super lube here, and all I'm gonna do is just rub some more grease on these bearings just to make sure that they are coated for life. I don't know if you should do this. Don't follow my advice, but I wanna make sure this thing has a lot of grease in there. I think it'll help the overall feeling of the steering. Of course, that's just my opinion. There we go. That is a ton of grease. Now let's see if I can fit this thing back in there without breaking it. Should be able to just pop in. There we go. Just snapped right in. Oh yeah, that is what I'm talking about. And just for reference, here is the bearing set out of the old part. And you can see there literally is zero grease. I mean, I can see a small film on this one, but no grease that I can really see on this thing. So I'm wondering, I don't know, I'm wondering if this might be the issue here. And you can see how loose this is. I really don't know. I don't know if this is the issue or not with these plastic bearings, just simply no lube here and therefore it has some play to move around. I really don't know, but I'm glad I found this so I can at least test that theory over time. I know that this part at least lasted 2 years, so maybe by adding grease it'll last 4 years, I don't know. I guess only time will tell. And looking back underneath the dash here, you can see this is our shaft coming from the steering wheel. And this is what is bouncing around. This is what we're trying to keep from moving too much when this vehicle is in motion. A side note here, I have already replaced this intermediate steering shaft here with the new Dorman updated part. And so I know this shaft is good, and I didn't even think my original equipment shaft was bad either. There was really no play I could see in either shaft. I had already bought this Dorman shaft, so I went ahead and installed it. But my assumption is that these plastic bearings are the culprit all the way. Well, how does this thing get installed? Well, basically with our steering column, we have two shafts. We have the outer shaft, and that's what this slides into. You can see there are clips here that actually have to clip into a designated spot. There's also a set of tabs here that have to slide into their designated spot. But beyond that outer shaft, there's also an inner shaft. So at the same time, you're sliding the inner shaft inside of this ring here, and you're sliding this piece inside of the outer shaft. The trick is to get it to go in perfectly straight. So there are those two tabs I was telling you about, and there's a slot right here in the outer shaft that those two tabs go into. Now, I have done this once before, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be any easier. Okay, I was able to get this thing started, and I did reach my hand around, I don't know if you can see my fingers up here. This is the actual gas pedal. I reached my left hand around the gas pedal to assist my right hand, and that gave me equal pressure to be able to get it onto this center shaft. Now I've reached to the point where I need to get it inside of this outer shaft, and I have everything lined up in terms of these tabs to where they need to go. So I'm just gonna attempt to put some even pressure on this thing. But this was the hard part last time. There we go, we got it past the first step there. And it's really just a lot of even pressure. Yeah. Oh, okay. Time for plan B. This is plan B, a 15/16 wrench. And let me show you how I'm gonna use it. Pretty simple. You just slide the 15/16 over the inner shaft and you just hit it a few times pretty solidly. About like that. And it'll completely push this thing on the rest of the way. We now have the part completely installed and it couldn't have gone easier. We have the bolt and nut back on with blue Loctite, and everything is tightened down.
One thing that I didn't realize last time, but I did realize today, has to do with the slot that these two tabs go into and these clips. There is a lip on this, and this is what was hanging me up from getting it inside that outer shaft. If you could get some kind of tool right here, like a pick or something, to press this in and get this lip past that shaft, then this collar should slide in very easily. Well, I'm out driving this thing around, and I have to say, you know, this is the second time that I've done this job, and the results are the same as the first. The steering wheel is back to its original self. No weird vibrations or clunks or anything coming through the wheel now. It just feels like it should feel. You know, after a repair like this, there's always that moment right when you start the car, you start driving it, and you're sitting there going, okay, was that gonna fix it or not? And you hit a few bumps and you know, you realize right away, yep, that fixed it. So that's pretty awesome. I'm really happy, just like I was the first time. That simple little $33 part seems to do the job, but we'll see how long it holds this time. If I can get at least 2 years out of this new part, I'll be happy. If I have to do it again in 2 years, whatever, I guess it's just a design flaw somehow. Yep, I'm out here hitting all kinds of bumps, all kinds of dips at all kinds of speeds, and I don't feel anything coming through the steering wheel. I'm really happy with this repair and how easy it is to fix this common problem. So if you have a 2000 to 2007, I think it is, NBS or GMT 800, let's see, probably the Sierra, the Silverado, the Tahoe, the Yukon, the Suburban like I have, and you have this clunky steering wheel feeling where it feels like your front end is falling apart, well, the first place that I'd look would be that intermediate shaft steering bearing. I don't know why they're made of plastic and they're made the way they are, but they are. And so you may just have to replace that thing. It's easy, but it's not. It's kind of difficult to get to, but it's a simple, easy part to replace. So thanks guys for watching. If this video helped you at all, or at the very least entertained you, please hit that thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And if you hit that subscribe button, please don't forget to hit that bell icon also. Well, that'll do it for me. I am Jimmy with One Road, and I will see you in the next one.